I don't know who needs to hear this, but I think somebody needs to hear this, so I'm going to say it. I'm a university professor. I love teaching, but when I was an undergrad, I was terrified of public speaking of any sort, like raising my hand and speaking up in class. I was terrified to talk in front of a classroom. When I was an undergrad, and even when I started grad school, I had my doubts I could make it as a professor because how was I going to stand up in front of a classroom and give lectures without being a nervous wreck? And the fact is that I realized very early on that that was not going to be a problem. In fact, the very first time I went into a classroom, I realized it was all okay. As I was approaching the classroom, I was very nervous about it. And before I was going to start, I was very nervous about it. But as soon as I was the person standing by the blackboard and looking at the students, I realized the students were more nervous than I was, and somehow that calmed me down. And as soon as I was actually talking about math on the board and trying to explain things, that sort of nervousness just evaporated. It was just magical. Of course, not everything went away, and I was still nervous for a while, but it was not as I had imagined at all. It was so much easier than I had imagined, and to this day, I still get a little bit nervous, especially the very first day of a semester before I go into a classroom to teach. But I enjoy it a lot. I enjoy the teaching so much, and still to this day, when I am once I start speaking and everyone is looking at you, something changes and you realize that you are in control, and it's easier than you would imagine to actually give lectures. And look at me now, even like making videos on social media.